Welcome to another weekly stock market analysis. Let's take a look at the cash indexes and the Dow Jones Industrial. It closed at 26,287.44, a loss of 197.57 point or minus 0.72%. And the S&P 500 lost 13.40, a 0.46% loss, and closed at 2,918.65, and the Nasdaq 100 closed at 7,646.27, a loss of 46.53 point or a loss of 0.6%. And the Russell 2000 closed at 1,513.04, a loss of 20.62 or minus 1.34%. And looking at the E-mini future, the Dow Jones, the YM, closed at 26,296, a loss of 187 point or 0.71%. The ES, the S&P 500 E-mini future, lost 12.75, a loss of 0.43%, closed at 2923.75. And the NQ, the Nasdaq 100 E-mini future, closed at 7,669.25, a loss of 44 point or a 0.57% loss. And the Russell 2000, the RTYE mini future, closed at 1516.90, a loss of 21.20 point or a minus 1.38. Before I continue, I'd like to remind you to click on the thumbs up if you like the contents in this video. And if you are not a subscriber on my YouTube channel, click on the subscribe and also the notification icon so you won't miss any future video from me. And thank you for your support. Now let's go and take a look at the charts. Looking at the weekly chart on the Dow Jones Industrial, I see a potential resistance here somewhere around the 27,000 area and a potential support down here near the 24,680. Last week, it finished up with a nice bullish doji candle and with a long bullish tail here. So if it could get some follow through next week and get back above this 27,000 area, then there's a possibility that it could come up and try to retest this all-time high. But if it's unable to get any follow through to come back up above this 27,000, then I expect it to work itself back down and try to test last week's low and see would it be able to hold that low. If it doesn't hold that low, then I'd be looking for the possibility of it come back down to retest this 24,680 area. Also, the other thing to note is there appear to be a inverted head and shoulder false breakout right here, and once it broke out, it came back in. So now the question is, there's a lot of short getting trapped here. So if the price come back above this 27,000, a lot of these short most likely will be running for cover. And if there is some follow through by the buyer, then we should see a all-time high. The all-time high getting tested. But if it's only a short covering, then we could see it reverse back down and then take out this low and then look for the Tesla support here at 24,680. Then the other interesting to watch when it get down to this level is would it be able to get a bounce? If it does get a bounce, and I'll be watching somewhere around here, near the 26,000 level resistance and see what it pushes back down. Then now we basically are looking at a potential head and shoulder breakdown. And if that's the case, once it does that, then I'll be looking at somewhere around this 23,500 or the somewhere down here at the 21,700 area near the December low here. Look at the S&P 500 weekly chart. See a potential resistance up here somewhere around the 2954 area and the potential support down at the 2728 area. You can see last week it sort of finished with a spinning top with a long tail, a bullish tail. So it's kind of bullish if we see a follow-through up here at the 29.54 next week, then we could see some short covering coming in because some of these short essentially got trapped down here, will be running for cover, and there is some buyer keeping up the momentum, then we might likely see the all-time high get retested. We also saw a inverted head and shoulder false breakout. Right, so we got a breakout over here and then came back in. So we got a little bit of a false breakout. So and also that might set up a trap for the short. So basically, going to be watching to see would it be able to come up to this 29.54 area next week. If it failed to come up and stay above that 29.54, then I'd be looking for a pullback to test last week's low. If last week's low is unable to hold, then I'm looking at the 27.28 potential support. Then the other interesting to watch is similarly to the Dow Jones Industrial. If it come down to this 27.28 and it get a nice bounce, then we're essentially looking at somewhere around this area near the 2800 to see would it be able to force some resistance and push it back down. Then we'd be watching for a potential head and shoulder breakdown at this 27.28. Then basically I will be watching this 25.50 for potential support of that breakdown, or the December low, the 23.50 area for this head and shoulder breakdown. Looking at the weekly chart for the NASDAQ 100, I see a potential resistance somewhere around the 7,851 area and a potential support down here at 69.36. This week it finished with a nice bullish candle here, and so next week I'll be watching to see would it be able to carry through the momentum up to this 78.51 and above. If it does, just like the other two indexes, basically looking for that. Then if it could come up and stay above the 78.51, then looking for the all-time high to get retested. But if it's unable to get back above the 78.51, then I'm looking for a test of this weekly low. If it's unable to hold the weekly low, then I'm looking forward to retrace back down to test this potential support at 69.36. Then similarly to the Dow Jones and the S&P 500, if it come down and get a bounce, I'll be looking maybe somewhere around up here near the 7,600 for the bounce, and then come back down, then set up this head and shoulder pattern. If it break through this head and shoulder pattern, then I'm looking at this particular area for potential support down here at 6,200, or the December low somewhere around this 5,900 area. Looking at the Russell 2000 weekly chart here, you can see that it is still pretty much away from the all-time high. And I see a potential resistance level up here somewhere around 1,618 and a potential support around 1460. Also, the other thing to note is that it seems like it's been trapped within this consolidation or a trading band between these two levels, the 1618 and the 1460. So you can see that it's been sort of got a little bit of a breakout and then come back in, and got a little bit of breakdown and then been chopping within this zone. And last week it finished with a little bit of a bearish candle with a long tail. So we'll see would it be able to reverse itself and work itself back up to this 1618 in the coming week. If it is unable to work itself up and instead the weakness continue, then I expect this low get taken out and then come down and test this 1460 for potential support and see would it get a bounce and work itself back up, bounce back up to the 1618. But if it is unable to hold this level, the 1460, then I expect it to come down and possibly work itself down to this trend line here, or this potential support somewhere around 1340, or the December low down near the 1260 area. Let's go look at the chart for the ETFs. Looking at this IWM, the ETF for the Russell 2000, I have this daily chart here with the composite volume profile. The first thing I I notice is that there is a point of control here near the 154 area. And this zone here, this consolidation zone or the balance zone, is pretty much within this composite value area. Here's this composite value area in a gray color. But there's also a low volume zone here. Area here, right above this 159.61, and that's what seems to be get rejected for the last 3 times here, somewhere around that level, 159.61. So right now we're essentially looking at the possibility of maybe working itself back up to the upper bound of this zone here, essentially coming back up to this 159.61. In addition to that, I also want to put up a composite based on this low to the present. So we see that there is a point of control here at 155.40 on this composite, basically between this time period to the present. Right? And so right now, it seems to be sitting right inside of this balance area, or this value area. So we'll see, would it be able to hold above this value area low and get back above this point of control. If it could get back above this 155.40, then I would expect that it might try to come up to this this area here at the 158.35 and possibly get back up to this 159.61 area. But if the price is unable to work itself back up to this point of control, this composite point of control, then I will be watching for it to come down and test this value area low at somewhere around 150.27. If it's unable to hold that, then I'd be looking for this thing to come down to this composite value area low at 145.32 for potential support. And if that doesn't hold support, then I'm basically looking for this high volume node here, somewhere around the 142, let's see what that is, 142.84 area. And if the price move below this high volume node, then you can see that there is this low volume zone here, this low volume zone here. And that could, if price break through this, it could come down fairly quickly before it trying to find some acceptance down here near the 137 in this area here. So you can see that also in this time frame, during this this time frame, there is this big low volume area as well. Let me mark this off here. And we can see, so these low volume area imply that there is little price acceptance. So price have a tendency to move quickly to it or bounce off from it fairly quickly. So so these are the level that I'll be watching. If price break below this 145.32, be basically watching this somewhere the 144, 142, and then the 139 area. Look at the daily chart for the QQQ, the ETF for the NASDAQ 100. You can see that it got a nice bounce off this trend line here last week, and it came up to this 188.38 level, essentially to this low volume area here. I have this composite volume profile. You can see that there is a point of control here somewhere just right underneath the 185 area, and it got above that. So right now it came to this value area high. So essentially this is the value area for this composite. So next week, if it could get about this 188.38, then it might work itself. Then I'll be watching for it to work itself up to this low volume zone here, 191.47, and see would it be able to get above it. If it does, then we're basically looking for the possibility of retesting the all-time high. But if it is unable to stay above this low volume zone and come down here and unable to hold this point of control, this composite point of control, then I expect it to work itself down to possibly to these support area at the 175.73 see would it get a bounce. If it doesn't, then the next support will be 169.83 area. So eventually, if it's going to trace down, then I essentially looking for this thing to dip below this 165 down here at this volume value area low for this composite volume profile. Then the other thing is I want to set up the composite volume profile at this low here to the present. And you can see that there is a point of control right near this 186.78 or 187 area, slightly above this composite at the 184.70. And it did close near that point of control last week. So we'll be watching to see would it be able to get above this, hold above this point of control and work itself up to this value area high at 192.19, this level here. So basically, this is the value area for this composite. So we'll be looking at that. If it could get above this value area high, then we'd be watching for the all-time high get retested. But if it is unable to get up here and instead get rejected at this point of control and get pushed back, then look for this trend line to get tested and break, then come down to this 175.73. This basically this low volume area, and also eventually pretty much the same low volume area down here at this 175.73. If it unable to hold this point of control, come down, test its trend line, can come down to this low volume and work itself down to this 169.93. And if we get down here and get a bounce back up to these low volume area, then essentially, or even get back up to this point of control, then essentially it is setting up this head and shoulder type of pattern, right? For with a baseline right here at this value area low. Looking at the S&P 500 ETF SPY, see that it broke the trend line last week but found support here at 282. It got a nice bounce up to the 293.55 area last week. You see this composite volume profile here. Here is the value area. So essentially it is sitting right near the value area high. Here's the composite point of control near the 289.73 in this area here. So next week, if I see price be able to push through the value area, then I'll be looking at the 296.92, this potential resistance here, to see what it pushes back inside of this value area. If it's not, if it could stay above the 296.92, then I'd be watching for a possibility of coming back up to retest the all-time high. Otherwise, I'd be looking for this thing to break below this point of control here, and then it'll work itself back down on these potential support area, and eventually get down to the value area low near the 267.83. In addition to that, I'm going to look at the composite from this area here, from this low to the present. And you can see the point of control is right near the 292.58, near where it closed last Friday. And here's the value area for this composite. So it's near the 272.42, the value area low, and the value area high is up here at 298.72. Right, so essentially there are a couple of these low volume area here within this value area. So we'll be watching for those, but mainly we'll watch if it could stay above this point of control and work to get above these value area high, and then if could get above this value area, then definitely be watching for the all-time high get tested, if not seeing it make a new all-time high. Other than that, we're basically looking at the retracement back down to these value, these basically this high value area here. So if it come down and break below the 282, probably see a little bit of a chop before it moves itself down to this 272.42. Then we probably see a a little bit of a rejection and then push it back up, because that is where the value area low is for this particular composite. And also there is this low volume zone. So we could see a little bit of a rejection. And once again, if it get pushed up and maybe work itself back up to close to this point of control and then get rejected, then we'll see a potential head and shoulder being formed with this 272.42, essentially this value area low as the baseline for this head and shoulder. And then once it breaks down, then we'll be looking at these low volume area for potential support. Okay, so you can see this huge low volume, low volume zone down here, and then there's a bunch of them on basically between this swing here. So those are the some of the level that I'll be watching for the coming week for these ETF and also for the indexes. So good luck.